are already
and
doing
we're back.
to support
Santa
families and
Oakland
students
Greens
during this transition.
and still doing
I finally
double
just want to
duty
thank our
with
after-school program staff and so many of our parent and community volunteers
double duty with the
who stepped in
OUSD
to
board.
support where needed.
It's supposed to go to 1 in the morning. Not going to be with them till 1 in the morning. But I'm also, if I say that, watch, I'll stay till 2. But I'm also covering on YouTube. Shout out Status Coup. Reaction watching their stream of, and there's actually 3 different streamers out there that I know of that I was watching today. I just tend to like YouTube, I mentioned before. And we're trying to, you know, get people motivated to action on our channel as well. Oakland Green Party. I'm covering the Daunte Wright, or we could just call it, just another brother killed.
Please remember that parental consent is required for this age group, and any person under 18
it's fucked up. It's the same kind of cat and mouse game they're playing this evening. The curfew's already in advance. They've made announcements that anyone who stays will be arrested, which then, those of you in the activist biz, no, it means there are more troops coming to kettle them in, and then, I mean, I don't know where they put all these people. I mean, the way they did it to myself and 5 and 8,000 and thousands of others in San Francisco, they put us in containers in the port. They're doing all types of shit. Open air ones at Naval Station. Thursday, April 22nd at 6 p.m. They would get you off the street in San Francisco and drive you all the way to Santa Rita, and then just put you in a queue line and then cite and release you, depending on what the charges were. If it was just, you know, unlawful assembly, which it's not. What the fuck does that mean, right? It's just cite and release, but you'd have to get yourself all the way back from Santa Rita back to San Francisco in the Bay Area. There is a ethnic studies workshop, virtual couple of days coming up from the student board members of OUSD. They're looking for people. You can go to the OUSD website for that.
Graduation. Did you want to speak to that? I know it was in the report.
We are looking for candidates. Myself, we're going out Saturday to Diamond Park. Voter registration for the Greens. Oh, it is paintball. But they're still not supposed to be aiming them right at people, and they're putting their barrels of the guns right through the fence. Even the so-called non-lethal, it's not even rubber bullets. They're actually look like canisters. They're putting the barrels through the fence, which is not a really good way, actually. It'd be better if they shot them over. But at this point, even when we were away, battery went dead, is what happened. I thought it said 64 minutes. It actually said 6. So I had to put on the new battery. And then Walk the Beast, you know, Pitbull Odo, shout out. And for his Instagram and all of our social media, definitely I promote our stuff on Odo's page too. It's mine, it's not, it's a dog, it's just pictures of him and stuff, but yeah.
I see Dr. Aguilera, who's just magically appeared, who will provide some more details.
Sure. I'm excited about this because we really do want to offer more in-person celebrations. So happy to talk a little bit about this. So
I have a little bit more that I want to see on their agenda,
and because of that, we're
get out of
able
that and we can go straight to the
more
live audio
activities. There's of course guidelines that we need to
rallies.
follow. The biggest one is that in any forum, it has to be outside, and it has to
chanting.
Be at 33% capacity. So that's the thing that we're figuring out for every school site. It's a little detail-oriented, very, you know, in the weeds for each school. But we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense. They have submitted their plans on what they want to do. We're still doing, like, everybody gets yard signs. Everyone
Is this
gets
about the voter ID thing?
Like, professionally done
although I will say,
ceremony.
that
that will be
sends
held
to
at
my
a
first
certain
mind is that
time.
we were too divided
But,
as far as
the
issues.
in-person
There's only one
opportunities,
issue,
are
social
gonna
justice,
look
and everything else falls under that
different given the
umbrella.
spaces. And we're also looking
In the
into
70s, they did a really good job of separating
beyond
us into
our own
little distinct
capacity
special interest
at our
groups.
school site. So, you know, city and
A lot
other
of people making
partners are
a lot of money. That's why I
willing
make the
to
joke,
host
activist
as
biz.
well. So we're trying to work out all those details. But that's where we're at right now, is just getting the details for every school site. But most seem to want it on their open fields, and we just need to make sure that we're following.
But they're not doing any real interviews. They're just covering the.
33%
Oh no, okay, I
capacity, so
see
they'll likely
on the
need to
side,
do,
which man, I wish they would. Oh, I should check
ceremonies
some
and
other
waves
feeds and see if
of
anyone
groups
else went
depending on
towards
how
the
big
cops.
the,
So
graduating
they're at the
class
police
is.
station where they put up
We'll keep
barricades
the
and
board
fence, and then there's
updated.
police
Definitely,
behind that. And
provide that list that we normally do.
then, like I said,
times, all
kettling.
those
There, I can
details,
see lights
so that
flashing
way
at the
we
end
can
of the
attend.
street.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can find
Go ahead, Dr. Yang.
another stream. What if I should
Thank
get?
you.
Let's see. We may be getting out of
This
the.
actually might be
school
for
board.
Dr. Aguilera. I had a question on the summer learning. I appreciated the update.
Unicorn Riot. No, they're at the.
To the details.
Riot is at the
remember
fence
reading
as
somewhere
well.
that, notifications
Right next
are gonna
to.
start going out
Oh, it could,
this week.
not the
Or
same
soon,
feed.
because I
Damn,
know
there could
that,
be because they're right
students
next to
coming up, and
each
so
other.
especially at this
Although
time,
that is
it's
safe,
very
stay
important
in
to see some
groups.
outreach around
Let's
some
see,
notification for some
Unicorn
schools might be. So I guess
Riot
the first
there
question is
too. Oh, they're on
families
YouTube
are
as well. I can get
confirming
off
when
of.
families are gonna be
Oh, they
notified,
disabled their
and then
comments
this
though.
didn't specify if
Don't
it's
like that.
in-person or distance, and if there's not a program that's attached to.
They didn't turn it off
I saw
on.
Springboard was at a number of them. There was a couple of.
Oh, I know where I can look at it in my history.
schools.
They didn't turn off comments on
There was
Facebook
not a
Live. If you go to
program
Unicorn Riot, they
identified
actually are
under
really,
programs.
really
What
good.
does that mean? Does that mean
There
that
we go.
it's
Let's see, are they still
responsibility
there?
to, for example, maybe Bella Vista.
I love it when the ad comes up
But
over
if there's
there.
not a program that's
Stream
specified there,
for
does that
social
mean they
justice.
can run it themselves?
Oh no,
Or
this is just the
provide-
replay. Although which makes sense because this particular stream was a snack spot was out there all day.
First
Because I was
part is
watching
that
that earlier
notices
today.
have started to
And it
go
was in the
out.
daytime
We're using
and
a new
stayed
electronic
just
system
until
to register.
It was getting
So
dark and violent and
that
stuff, but
is
that
just
would already been
another
a
system to understand.
12, 14-hour day for them already.
Our families are getting a text
Let the night shift
message
take
that then
over
invites
because
them
I didn't see
into,
Unicorn
doing the rest of the steps for
or the
registration. So
status
we're
quo
helping
live until later in
families
the
run that
evening.
new process, and it's
So I
much
guess I
easier
don't
than
have to be on Unicorn
previous
Riot because they're
processes,
both in the same
that has
spot.
started. In addition,
But they weren't
you know,
distinguishing
Jen
between
Blake, the executive director of special education, also
they weren't distinguishing
was
between
able to launch
press or
the
anyone else
extended
anyway.
school
So
year applications as well,
I just-
and that started on Monday. She announced that at the CAC meeting.
but some
So
people
we
look like
have
they might have
both,
cleared out because they're
you know,
definitely not at
rolling
the fence line.
their
Even
applications
though the
going
cops still
in
have a
phases,
couple of them still have
because
their
we
barrels
have
pointed.
highest priority students, and as those families are either accepting or not accepting, we're inviting more families because we want to try to hit that 6,000 threshold, which will be the largest program that we've had, you know, since, well, just the largest
And
program
really the only thing
that
is,
we've had during the
unless you
summertime.
elect people before
We
profit
are planning for
candidates, it doesn't
in-person
matter. Same thing
instruction.
for school board.
There are going to be opportunities for hybrid as well. What we're seeing with the parents are opting in for. I think your other question, most of our elementary will be springboard. Our middle schools will be a math
See what else
focus
they're going over today.
and blueprint math. And then our high schools are mostly credit
Once you find the
recovery,
link, it's
so
at the
algebra,
agenda link for
bridge,
OUSD.
and
It's
literacy,
pretty easy to get.
bridge. And
everything.
then school sites that want to do
Where are we?
a specific
We
or
are-
different approach, we are supporting them to do that. We do, in the summertime, provide school sites additional curriculum materials to implement. They're usually shorter units to use in that time frame. So if you wanted more specifics about Bella Vista,
Okay, I think we're going
Bella
to
Vista
definitely stick
and
around for
Las
it. We just went
Bonitas,
by
we can
the
definitely get that for you, but
president
they
report,
use
or that's what we're on
those,
now, I think.
mini units
Superintendent's
that we
report,
designed
and then the
specifically for the
comment
summer
by collective
program.
bargaining units.
Thank you for that overview.
That'd probably be the last one.
Are there other board member comments or questions for the superintendent?
Oh, this is superintendent report, so maybe
Thank you,
next.
and thank you, Superintendent Johnson.
General
to
consent
Mel, for your
report,
I really want to
business
second your
officer.
comments about vaccinations. I'm now fully vaccinated and very happy to say that. And I really especially want to encourage 16 and 17-year-olds who can now get the Pfizer
Approving a whole bunch of
vaccination.
after-school programs.
It is
I-
one way
We always thought it was a bad idea
the timeline for making our high
to
schools a safer environment is our students
go back to school for the last little bit, force them back, just so you can say you did.
Away from here
And
also, Superintendent Johnson.
that really seems like
there
just a
have
political
been
move,
kind of two issues that
and
have
in
been
reality,
lifted up to me from my school
they're
over this
gassing
past week's conversation.
4 people who are
There
standing,
is
like
a
the
real
only 4
desire
people just
for
standing at the
multiple
line, and they're just
district-wide
gassing them
school sites
rather than just
for
letting them
help
stand
and
there. It's
support on some
just
kind
so
of
stupid.
Excuse
me, anyway.
People are very concerned about some screening or testing on the front end, and if it can't be done directly through OUSD, if there's ways that
I lost my train of thought on that one, didn't
maybe
I?
an outside agency to help support.
Oh, that
because
having them go back for the last little
it
bit
might be that they're looking in the
is silly,
neighborhood,
except for we thought that they should do a
testing. And then the other
mid-July
issue is,
all the way up to
some of the
September,
school
but
sites
just
have what I
a
consider kind of minor issues, like there's
a summer
questions
school
about
for play.
custodians or about certain
Kids have been
supplies.
cooped up
And
for
it
a
would
year.
be,
It's been
I think easier for all of us
traumatic
if there was
mentally
a quick way
for
that
everyone,
I could check in about that or a
because of
point
the
person.
mishandling
Most of these don't seem to be
that our
right
system
now
has created in
real
this country,
big issues,
right?
but just a quick check to
Make-
make sure things are
we don't
moving in the
really
right
educate.
direction. And I
We
just know
teach,
next week
sadly, and we
when
don't
we're going to reopen,
educate to critically
I'm sure
think.
that's gonna be talked
And it's
about a
definitely in
lot.
our
So that
leadership
was
showed
just
it over
really
the last
helpful,
years and
some
how
sort of way to streamline
it's
it.
idiocracy, right? All of a sudden, all of the people who weren't educated are still allowed to vote, and they voted, and the educated ones did not.
Yeah, just 3 questions.
And they've always gone for the
First, if
two-party
you could
system.
just
Anyway,
repeat
that we had
the
that we should do a
dates
social distance,
that
just play,
the youth have priority at the Coliseum. I think you said
and
it was
had
the
a
15th
plan to do
and
that.
The 18th?
15th through the
We've also had a
Oh,
plan
through
to
the
actually
18th.
have
Oh,
an
wow, that's great.
equal
Okay.
education system
And
where
so you said just go to my turn.
even 9
Let's see.
students per
myturn.ca.gov,
class,
and
and
don't give up. I know how cumbersome that site can be. So
3
I just had the little
teacher and
patience
then
when
2
you get on it.
TAs
Okay. And then the 2
per
quick
and
questions.
cafeterias and
The first
little
is
cooks.
just about the learning hubs. I understand that those have expanded and that we're continuing to hold those even.
should
as
always
we're
take
also
a
getting in-person
view
learning.
that if
Just
the kids aren't
give a
dying to go to
quick
school,
update
like, oh my
on
gosh, so
how many
excited
hubs there
to
are,
go to school,
how many
dying.
students they're
So
serving.
excited to go to
And
school, then
the
we're doing
other
something
question
wrong.
was about SBAC testing. I mean, there was a
Although
earlier
now that
video
would
of
constitute
how
some sort of
to
video
SBAC
games
testing
and
with
stuff because,
everything that's going on, and then I
yeah,
believe
again,
that the
we're not
federal government
educating, we're
has
not making
actually
academics fun.
allowed California to take a step back from that in districts where it's not
We
viable
could.
to do the SBAC testing. So if you could give some kind of update about that.
Yes, I'll answer Director Davis. The first one,
Ooh,
I'll have
is that
Dr. Aguilera
bullets
answer the
hitting their
SBAC, and then I'll
umbrella?
go back to the hubs.
It is. They are just firing.
Right, so we do have the option to take local assessment only
Yeah.
if the
Yep.
SBAC is
Just
not
firing at
viable.
people on their knees.
So we have to prove first that it's not viable for us to
Again,
take
the
the
mass
SBAC.
crowd isn't
And
even
we
at the
administer
line,
the SBAC in grades
but they're here.
3 through 8 and at 11th grade. 11th grade is important.
mix behind the
more
school board
important
meeting is
because it does for
surreal.
students that are wanting to go to at least our Cal States and UCs. They do require the SBAC. They have required, I should say, the SBAC, and it helps with placement into certain classes that is used. So we have been able to say as a district that it's not viable to do the SBAC. We have, I don't know how many board members know this level of detail, but the devices that we have, you have to have a specific server added to our devices in order to access the
Yeah, they just let them fire.
testing platform.
Just firing
through
at people.
SBAC.
can, well, you
There's
can hear it.
a series of
And they're
conversion
paintballs.
steps that our parents would have to do
No
to
concussion
essentially
grenades
wipe
yet.
the device
But he's
clean
aiming at people.
at that server.
Although,
And then once they're done,
when we were in Miami,
take
this
that
was
off and wipe
the
it
90s.
clean again. And so
What
it's
they were
just too
firing,
cumbersome
we thought
for
were
us to
paintballs. They
figure
weren't.
that
They actually,
piece
when they
out.
exploded, had
We
like
don't really
psychotropic
expect the
drugs and
parents to
depressants
do
inside of it.
those
Was
multiple
chemical
steps.
weapons
So we're
also.
saying that because of our server issue, it's not viable for us to take the SBAC.
Now, there's a,
So
well, he's
that's
not
the
firing,
first
but that's
step.
a
Now, deciding
tear
on local
gas or
assessments, you
the
have to
non-lethal,
choose
the
from a
canister
battery of assessments
bullets.
that the state has provided. We
Looks like a little
fortunately have
torpedo.
shifted to some of those assessments this past year, and so our school sites are familiar with those particular assessments. What's also nice about it is that we'll have continued assessment data. So we'll have beginning of school year. We did like a winter January assessment, and so now we'll take the same assessment in May as your final assessment. We'll be able to use the iReady platform. There's both language arts and English language arts, and a math assessment that we'll be able to use for grades 3 through 5.
Tear gas that
And
comes
then
out
for
of looks like a fire
6 through 8
extinguisher.
and 11,
That has
we are able to
chemicals
use
have stuff to make
reading
you all fucking
inventory,
depressed and
which
tripped
is
out on too.
formerly known as scholastic reading inventory. It's just
And
called
the
reading
pandemic
inventory
can't
now.
be good for your lungs.
And there is a math
Make you more
inventory that
susceptible.
we've used in the past.
And again, the mass
Additionally, we are
crowd
still
is
going
not
to
at the police
provide a
line.
way
They're
for
firing at
students
1,
that
2, 3
want to make sure they have
in
the
one little
11th grade
group,
option.
and then another group of
Cal
4 that are
States and
behind
UCs
looks
are
like
saying
pallets.
we'll take your
Oh, look at that!
local
And that whole other
assessment.
side
But
is
if
gone. There's no people, no
any
nothing.
student is kind of nervous about that, we're still going to figure out a ways that they take the
I don't know, the
SBAC.
people that they hire and
We
the
have
training,
it
they
in
just want to
multiple
fucking shoot
ways that
motherfuckers.
Cal
man.
States and UCs will accept
A lot of
local
times,
assessment. They're not
also, right,
requiring
they're
the
finding
SBAC.
that
So if
especially
anyone is
in
nervous about
Minnesota,
that, we're
a lot of
figuring
these
out a way that
cops
we can
are also
still
Proud
provide that
Boys
for our
and
11th
white
graders.
nationalist groups, and
That choose into that. So I
then
think
some
that
of them
those are all the questions.
smaller, way
We
smaller
probably have
percentage,
a
or even
3-week
QAnons.
window towards the end of the
Just
school
want
year
to shoot people.
for assessments and then makeups for those local assessments.
Thank you, Dr.
Wonder how many erections
Thank you, Dr.
are in that
Arietta.
police
And
line.
quickly, Director Davis, we have operating about 35 hubs serving about 670 students.
Thank you.
Great. It's 8 o'clock, and so we are supposed to go to our time certain public hearing, but I know that Director Williams, did you have any questions or comments on the superintendent report before we move on?
Trying to have people bounce out as quick as
Okay.
possible.
Great. So with that, we will transition then to item R, which is our public hearing on the SELPA. We'll come back after item R to item Q, which is our comments from collective bargaining units. So with that, I will
Trying to
turn
bump
over
that down as far as possible. Keep everybody, make them leave.
But I will turn over to you. I don't see Miss Blake here, so she may need to be promoted.
Translation.
Ah, yes, let's do that.
Ms. Ho, do you want to go first?
各位柯文社區人士好，呢一度係柯文聯合校區教育委員會會議。假如你
See
需
if
要廣
anybody
東
needs
話翻譯，
translation.
請你去認定嘅右下方點擊一個地球形狀嘅符號，然後選擇中文，咁你就會聽到我哋嘅廣東話翻譯。假如你需要廣東話翻譯，
Three.
請你
They
認
put
定
their umbrellas down. They're just getting shot
多謝。I'm done. John Council.
and gassed.
Okay. Seeing no hands. Dr.
They
Staley,
have cloth.
intervention.
Oh no, one person has a actual gas mask. That would be protective.
And,
The other two do not.
Thank you. Ms. Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you. I understand there's some members of the CAC who will be joining you toward the end of your time. We will be taking public comments, I think, after this presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Blake. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for the time to our school board directors, superintendent, colleagues, and community. Very happy to be here this evening to speak with the board and community about our CAC local plan and to discuss
Just shooting them. Same three, you're just shooting them.
Goals as a part of that overall plan. I do have a presentation, and I don't know.
And if the
going to be shared by
torpedo decided, the grenade launcher decides to shoot at that distance
and get started with
to those any of the three, that would break a rib,
we have
internal bleeding.
Madam President, I'm sorry, could you formally open this hearing?
I formally open this public hearing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. We do have two.
Just shoot. There's, like I said, masses are not anywhere near the police line. You can check it out on their streams in the future. They usually always have someone covering these rallies. Unicorn Riot tends to, not necessarily true, Unicorn Riot and Status Quo both actually mostly tend to do more interviews and have more comments to the public out there, which is great. I sure would love to see it be more of a guided conversation as far as taking over electoral politics.
If you want to go to the next slide, please, that would be great.
But yeah, both of them are good. And then Snack Squad, I was actually just first time I've ever saw their stream today, so I can't speak on what they're about.
And it stands for Special Education Local.
I know their comment sections with members only, which I don't like. No one turned away for lack of funds is our motto in the Oakland Greens.
Be able to support students with disabilities who require special education services.
It doesn't mean that sometimes I don't go, oh man, nobody donated, even though they're all free tickets.
Distribution of special education funds, oversees a continuum of special education services, and ensures that each eligible child has implementation of a comprehensive and defensible individual education program, or IEP. Because Oakland is
elect better candidate. Say his name. Elect better candidate.
A full continuum of special education programming. We are considered of sufficient size to be our own SELPA, our own special education plan area. And that makes this school board the board of the
Kent State 2021 says
we are the administrative
in the chat.
We also have
no, in Kent State they use real bullets
that participate in our SELPA. And at this time we have 3 American Indian public charter schools. We have
they're bruising everybody there. Oh, now there's only 2 people standing.
As I mentioned, have a variety of different functions within SELPA.
5
on the screen here.
Behind
and the overall
palette.
Guidance document that
oh, they are moving a little closer. The palette is
the local plan, which we'll discuss this evening. Next slide, please.
But the 2 haven't moved, and they're good.
Plan? Essentially, it is the
7-8 feet away.
Guidance document for our special education plan area. And
they're spraying the palette, people behind the palette, over top of the palette.
Our governance structure for how the SELPA operates, some required policy that includes assurances.
The umbrella shield defense for that type of stuff is actually pretty good, although you're still going to get the gas, but maybe you won't get the chemicals on you and just keep spreading it as you mingle with other people and get rid of it. You can dump the umbrella.
Receive the services and supports they need as
oh, there was a concussion grenade from somewhere. But yesterday, there was no one around, and that person was just one person, yellow vest, full gas mask, hands on his head, and they
talk a little bit about the
threw that grenade
the local plan
right next to them.
Must be completed every 3 years, which is a new requirement as of 2020. And the local plan
their ear was bleeding when it was all over. Concussion blew him over sideways. And there was also a tear gas canister there too. They couldn't hardly see. Luckily, somebody finally went up and grabbed them.
We will be back with the board and community to discuss our annual service plan and our annual budget plan, which are sections D and E. They accompany this overall.
I don't know why you're all over there whining.
The document will take us through the 2023-24 school year, although it is a living document and can be revised as necessary.
Odysseus,
if the
no.
charters join our SELPA, for example, if there are substantive changes in federal, state, or local legislation that impact IEP-related services, or if there are mutually agreed upon changes that might be necessary to ensure that the document correctly reflects the way that we were operating at that time. Next slide,
palette.
Okay. And so we'll talk a bit about contents of the local plan. Before diving in, I did just want to note one thing that is a very recent change. As recently as the end of March, there was a requirement that the school board actually officially vote to adopt and approve the local plan. And we have recently learned that requirement has changed.
Man, I hope he
So the approval
fires it off the
pathway
pallet
will be
and
from,
bangs it back into the car.
to our superintendent, Dr. John.
Because we know that was the other thing too, why they should demilitarize the police, because they definitely don't know how to use the weapon.
Department of Education. Next slide, please. So we start by talking a bit about what the SELPA actually is and what our structure is. That includes provisions specific
No,
to the way
go
that
lay
we
down.
have new charters join the SELPA, the way that charters participate in our services and continuum, and the way that we ensure a FAPE, free appropriate public education.
letting the
is
press
being
film
made
it, too.
available to
Don't even
all
care.
students, whether they attend a charter within SELPA or an OUSD public school. The document also goes
flashing
through how we
lights out over
distribute
there?
funds for students with low
They're trying to get an angle to
such as
shoot
deafness,
into.
blindness, orthopedic impairments, and multiple disabilities.
So
It
the
ensures
one
that
of
we
the
have a
two
continuum of placements
have
from
moved
the
up, but the
complete
other
general
was
education
not.
program with
Yeah,
special
they're
education
shining lights
accommodations,
trying to get
up
an
to
angle
and
to
through
bounce
specialized special day classes and placements by IEP teams
the grenade
in
through
non-public schools and programs. And then finally, it goes through
into
the
the-
responsibility of the members of the
get
SELPA,
bouncing around in there.
including the Community Advisory Committee. The CAC is an integral part of the functioning of the SELPA because it is a group that is primarily comprised of parents, guardians, and community members concerned about students with disabilities and
Yeah,
their
it's gonna
equity
start
and
getting to you,
access.
man. You
And
have
it
no
provides
protection over
an
your
advisory
face.
function to the SELPA. It gives us guidance on the way that we prioritize spending and budget. It makes sure that we are implementing California Education Code and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And finally, it provides a local plan review to make sure that there's advisement and feedback as to making sure that the document captures the needs of all students and the families who know them best. The document also covers board policies that are necessary to ensure that the SELPA is acting in accordance with federal and state legislation that is specific to students with disabilities. This includes things like our child find regulations, what steps we take when there is a suspected area of disability for a child who is a resident of Oakland or attends a school in Oakland, how we
Definitely,
facilitate
someone said in the
placement
chat
in and out
these
of
protesters
non-public
are
schools,
amazing.
how we
Yeah,
support
these
our
rally
students
goers
who are
definitely
turning free and moving from the infant
got their shit.
section
Ooh, somebody
of the
got it.
federal
They got
law
somebody.
to
I
the
see him
school-age
hobbling.
section of the federal law, how we address disproportionality in either our discipline
Remember the
or our
days.
placements or our eligibility or a combination
Actually,
thereof,
tear gas wasn't that
and
long
a variety
ago.
of other factors around materials assessment and other specific details necessary to ensure compliance with the law. Next slide, please. There are some new pieces of the
That was
local
one where
plan.
it was
And SELPAs
Pet-
throughout the
where they
state
still
have
had
the
a curfew
option to
here,
bring
too.
forth this section, Section B, either last year during the
after George Floyd, we
2020
I
school
was
year,
there
or
and I
this
stayed
year
live
during the
all the way back
2021 school year.
my
And
car
the deadline for all
and then
SELPAs in
home
the state
because they
is
were
June 30th of this year, with that
pulling
county
people
approval
over
being
and looking.
necessary prior, hence bringing it to you today.
Don't
Some of
use
the new
water.
pieces
You need
in
dry
the
cloth.
document are making sure that we have a section that is specific to the way we support what we call C2b Transition. These are our students who are participating in infant
Real gas
services
mask,
through early
too.
intervention providers within the community who, before their third birthday, need an evaluation to determine if they continue to meet eligibility under Part B of the IDEA. There's also a section specific
Now,
to
for these
different
rallies
types
with
of
all the tear gas,
placements.
you need
So
real
when a student has been determined to
replaceable
require
filter
a non-public
respirators.
school or a specialized program outside of OUSD, how we make sure that we are coordinating that and meeting regularly to consider the least
Plug
restrictive
some shit
environment as that child
for
continues. to
Saturday.
progress. And finally,
Going out
there's a
to,
section around
Diamond
disproportionality.
Park.
As you all are aware, Oakland SELPA continues to be in significant disproportionality status,
Voter registration.
specific to our identification of
I've
students
been
who are African
doing
American
some
or emotional disturbance.
participating
And
live
that
streams
requires
promoting
a plan
my
called the
side hustle
Comprehensive
show,
Coordinated
trying to
Growth
navigate
and
this
Community
corrupt
Services
system.
plan,
We'll be talking
as well
about
as the withholding of some of our federal
sexism
dollars
in the
specifically
gaming
for
industry.
intervention to try to interrupt that disproportionality.
how we haven't really
This
come
plan
anywhere
talks
from
about our transition
Gamergate.
services for youth aged 16 to 22,
Talk
and
about
how the SELPA
sex worker
coordinates college,
rights
career readiness services,
as
vocational
well. That's
services, and our young
again, you
adult
go
program.
to steponapresents.com.
It also
for
reviews
that.
our services for students who are in specialized settings, such
Then
as
Sunday
hospital
is
or
the
home and hospital instruction, our students who are foster youth and may require more
public
intensive case management
monthly
as a
general
result of
meeting.
that, or our students who are in the juvenile justice system. And it
OaklandGreens.org
specifically addresses
has
the
the
services
agenda
of students students who may be
It's
eligible
posted
for
there.
Wilson County jails.
There is a
knowing
couple of
that we
new
have
items that I will
eligibility
update
for
on
special
Friday.
education until age
Weekend
22.
beforehand.
Next slide.
And transitioning to the
Okay, so we'll briefly touch
protests
a bit on the
they
special
have
education
now deployed
department and how we have tried to work through the local
troops
plan to be able to make sure that we
onto
are
the streets
creating goals
to start
that help us
arresting
achieve the aims
people.
of not
They
only
must have
the
felt
law
that there
and
is
the restrictive
enough.
environment, but a
It
true
looks like city police
access
the front and then
for every
National
student
Guard
with a disability in
fatigue
Oakland South.
troopers
Next slide, please.
behind.
This is a
They're
very
coming
wordy
down the
slide,
street.
so I will not read it. But a couple of things we wanted to touch base on relative to our work as a department over the course of the last year is to really focus on some of the ways that we have tried to ensure all of our special educators have access to
And people are moving.
appropriate curriculum. This year that started with Aspire Multisensory Literacy
You can
Intervention,
possibly hear in the
which we're now in our
background,
second
dude,
year of adoption
move,
and have been able
move,
to
that
roll
little
out to
chant
vast
that the
majority of all of our
stormtroopers
moderate
do.
special educators in grades TK through 8. In addition to Spire, this year we brought on an evidence-based transition curriculum for the first time, which is specifically for our students
one of
who are
the
in that 16 through 22
two
category,
with three
and
that were
focuses on fiscal awareness,
frontline, the one that didn't move, man.
self-determination,
Finally,
advocacy,
there we go. That was
community
a
integration,
long,
vocational skill development, and college
long stands getting gassed over and over and over
Next
again.
year,
They're going to have health
we are continuing
problems for
to
sure.
expand in our goal of
Ooh,
making
they
sure
are.
that we have appropriate curriculum in all areas.
They're
for bringing
advancing
on
pretty
social
quickly.
learning curriculum and an alternative math curriculum called Equals
Press
Mathematics
having to
for our
move too.
students in our moderate extensive support needs settings. In addition to this, as everyone is aware, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the department has had to shift towards making sure that we are providing access to instruction to the maximum extent possible in a distance learning context. We did that through a very significant rollout of recruitment and access services that were based on.
Is that my master volume that does that too? Yes, it is. Because
engagement support and additional mental health counseling for our school psychologists and for non-public agency providers. Beyond that, we also have fulfilled over 800 and now at this point over 900 requests for tangible materials. Some of the things that normally are in classrooms
man, they advance quick.
Focus and access and understanding for our students with special needs. And we are pivoting that to hybrid materials that teachers and case managers can access
right.
To
Revolution
help supplement their program as their students return.
Will be televised,
and then
live
finally,
streamed.
we started a pilot with Edgenuity this year for credit recovery across 6 of our high schools and alt ed
There's some
campuses,
fireworks
which will
going
be
off at
expanding
the
across all of our high schools next year to offer proactive credit recovery services that include adaptations necessary for disability access for our high school youth. Next slide, please. These are our 3 goals that drive all of the work of the SELPA and of the special education department as a whole. Our first goal is around academic equity. That speaks to the curriculum I mentioned earlier, also making sure that we have appropriate professional learning and mentorship in the use of that curriculum, that our educators have the materials that they need to be successful in implementing that curriculum, and that we are guiding our educators to use culturally responsive and universal design principles that are appropriate for students with diverse needs. Our next goal is specific to evidence-based professional learning and ties very much into academic equity. We want to continue to expand having
You're about to get arrested.
Knowing that learning for students is not one size fits all.
Although these people probably, because they're in such a residential area, they could be right on their property.
Very diverse workforce in special education, which is something of which we're proud. Everything from people who are brand new to the world of special ed